Welcome to the Week in Location-Based Marketing, episode number 20. Not double, we've already surpassed double digits, but 2 tens is big, man, big.
Huge.
My name is Rob Woodbridge. I'm from Untether.tv and one of your faithful hosts on this show. And with me, is, as always,
is Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association.
Found at thelbmay.com. And this is, of course, that show that you tune into every Monday morning to find out what happened last week and why it's important to you in the location-based marketing world. And as always, it was a great week last week. I think that the pace, as the weather changes in Canada, as the weather changes across North America and around the world, I think that the pace of innovation starts to heighten. I think everybody gets a little bit warm. We come out of our winter slumber, and that's exactly what's happening, I think. A lot of companies are being formed. Maybe the business models aren't great, but they're trying, and that's what I love about this entire industry. It's very entrepreneurial, isn't it, Asif?
Yeah, there's always activity, but especially now, and I think we've been talking for a few weeks that we're anticipating mergers and acquisitions to happen over the next little while, and I think we're seeing some products start to come together. We're going to talk a little bit about that today, not from different companies, even within companies. But things are happening, and we're going to talk about NFC a little bit and a few other movements in the industry. So lots going on.
So let's get right into it. Now, I got a question for you. It's like, every once in a while I need a couple extra bucks. I've thought about a paper route. I've thought about doing some things, maybe $10, working at Tim Hortons, the night shift. I'm a consultant, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. So, then you send me along this great little opportunity called AirRun, which is this little company that maybe I can make an extra 10 or 20 bucks if I'm on my way to, and I can help somebody out. Let's talk about this company as our first story. AirRun launches 1.0. What is AirRun,
Yeah,
Steve?
So AirRun, they describe it as a location-based job hub. And effectively, what it is it's an iPhone app. It's a free service, and the way they describe it is it's about connecting seekers and runners are the two terms they use. And so seekers are those that actually need jobs done. So those that have a job and are looking for somebody to do it. And a runner is a person like yourself that has got some skills and is available and can get that job done. And so they're trying to hook this all together via an iPhone app. It's all location based, and so it's connecting jobs based on where you are. And it's kind of a neat concept. And for me, the interesting thing is I get asked all the time by people when I'm out speaking at various events and stuff. The Foursquares and the Koalas and the Facebook deals and the coupons, that's all great, and we see the value in that. But, where are the B2B applications? And not the big, huge enterprise stuff. Where's the basic B2B applications? And so this is a good example, I think, of, one foot forward in that direction. So.
Well, and if I can make an extra $10 picking up some stuff for somebody when it's on my way, I think that's what it does. So ultimately, what ends up happening is that me as a runner, quite literally, I'd be running an errand for somebody, and they would post the job, whether they needed me to pick up milk or somebody to pick up milk or stamps or whatever it would be.
Right.
They put up a job, and then it allows runners like me to bid. And I'm not saying that I'm doing this, but I might. I'll give it a test, and we'll see how this goes. And if anybody's done this, let us know, because we'd love to hear about the experience. But it allows me to bid on the job, and then the person who's submitting the job then approves me. It gets all confirmed. I go out, I do the errand, I bring it to wherever I'm supposed to bring it, and bring the receipt with me. They pay me the cost for if it was something that I had to buy. They reimburse me for that, plus whatever it was that the value of the job was, maybe $10 or $20 for doing that errand.
Right. And there's an entire kind of marketplace functionality within AirRun, so you can get paid in cash, you can get paid via credit card, you can get paid via PayPal. So they have all the payment mechanisms covered in this as well. And really, in the press release that I looked at around this, what they're saying is that they're trying to solve a problem here, and the problem is that there's 13.7 million people in the U.S. that are unemployed. According to the latest stats out there, the numbers are huge, and and I think that not that this is the solution to that problem, but I think just helping people who have some time and some skills on their hands and need a little extra cash, and putting, aligning that with jobs is interesting. And in some respects, it's actually kind of a different application of, something we talked about a few weeks ago in neighbor goods.
Yeah.
I've got stuff that I'm not using, and, we make that available to people in our local community who need that, for a fee or for free or whatever. But, small transactions. And very similarly here, you've got, I need something done, and you maybe can do it, and you're close by, and let's get it done. So
I love it. It's outsourcing to your neighborhood.
I like it.
Yeah, well,
putting the neighbors to work makes sense.
100%. And I think that it's got certainly it's got it's a rating system as well. So like Elance or something like that, or even Amazon, you rate things, and obviously the cream will rise, and those that won't. And so that's AirPlay. Is that right? That's
AirRun.
AirRun. Sorry, it just seems like it's a neat idea. And this could be, it's not going to pull the U.S. out of any kind of unemployment doldrums, but certainly might get a couple of extra bucks in your pocket. AirRun. This is
really neat, though. I think what would be really interesting right now in the U.S. is if Obama all of a sudden, engages with this thing and then empowers the underworking segment of the population to do all kinds of tasks for them.
Are you kidding? If Obama delivered my dry cleaning and I flipped him a 10 spot.
Yeah, there you go.
You don't want to engender some votes. I'd say that we're about, obviously we're in our fourth election in 7 years in Canada.
No, hey, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Politics is all about volunteerism. There shouldn't be any transactions.
He'd better not take that $10, but I know that a Canadian politician would take it. So they don't get paid quite as much. So that's AirRun, and 1.0 is launched, and give it a try. I'm going to try to get those guys on Tether.tv. So if you're watching this, anybody from AirRun, I'd love to have you, and we'll explore this as a business model a little bit deeper. So from that story, here's one of those examples of a company that has launched with a business model, realized that maybe that business model was either crowded or didn't work, and then this is a Y Combinator company, graduated company, that they went through that process, went through Y Combinator, and then came out, tried a business model, didn't work, changing the business model. It's called Message Party. It sounds like the greatest name ever. I want to work for a company that is called Message Party.
Well, anything with a party's got to be good, right? Yeah. So, so these guys launched in August. Yes, they came under the Y Combinator program,
which is basically being touched by God, right? Like Y Combinator, you come out of that, you have a solid idea, business model, something that's interesting.
It's supposed to be Midas. It's supposed to be Midas, but it wasn't, and maybe it will still be. But anyhow, they launched back in August as a location-based chat platform. And there was lots going on in that space, and I think it was a little crowded. I think we weren't quite on the group messaging bandwagon that we are now with GroupMe and everybody else that we've talked about in the last few weeks. So I think that's been part of it. And so they've moved from location-based chat to what they're calling location-based blogging, or what they've coined as geo-blogging.
Right.
Which I like the term. I think it's cool to to kind of come up with these new phrases and put it out there and make it your own. So that's kind of interesting. And so effectively, what Message Party is saying is it's all about sharing photos and videos and commenting about places and content. Based on where you are. So it's kind of an interesting take on it. And I know you pulled it down, Rob, and we're playing with it a little bit. So what do you think?
Well, I think that, it's certainly an interesting thing. But again, it's one of those business models. I mean, what's interesting about it is that you can comment or tag a location or an event without actually physically being there. So tonight is the Masters, or the fourth round of the Masters, the final round of the Masters. And I was watching conversation going back and forth, people posting comments about the Masters, at the Masters, leaving it geotagged there, but they were doing it from around the world. I mean, it's an interesting concept. One of the things that, it's another spin on something like Foursquare, where you can tag comments or suggestions or tips about a location, or Yelp, or any of the other ones that are out there. There's probably no fewer than, 700,000 of these companies out there?
Sure. Sure. Yeah. No. There's tons of them, and they describe this as giving physical locations their own multimedia histories. Is how they've termed it, which is kind of it's not a bad description, I guess.
Well, we talked about companies like Broadcaster before.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, and it's very similar, right? I mean, difference is that these are text based versus audio in the case of Broadcaster, right? So.
Well, and that's it. And I interviewed Mike Seibel, who is the CEO of Justin TV, and they just released something called Social Cam, and it's really the same thing. It's tagging, it's social, it's mobile video captured and tagged and all that kind of stuff, and you're going to see this kind of evolution where there's going to be that layer on top of every location,
right?
And you got to wait for that one company. Again, this is going to build up like this. You're gonna have all these companies, and you're gonna have that one foot feed equivalent of a company that brings all of that into one application.
Yeah, and again, like just like when they launched in the chat space back in August, they're not alone here either. I mean, there are others, right? There's Social Light is in this space.
Yeah.
Blog Chalk is in this space. So there's a few guys out there. I think one of the interesting things about this platform is that not only can you comment on things that you're not at. But they kind of break it into categories, so you can see conversations that are happening for places that are right nearby you. Yeah. Within say 10 100 meters or something like that. But you can also see what they call the top 25, I think it's called, or 25 city they call it. So you see the top 25 conversations, or what's trending in your city. And then you can also see global conversations that are going on. So you've kind of got these layers of chat, text / blogging, commenting, based on places at various levels. So it's an interesting way to do it.
Now, what I was looking for the article because I think that what they were saying is that this is really predominantly available in New York City as a focus area now. But
it's only New York City, I think.
Yeah, obviously there's conversation going around, and. One of the redeeming features that I saw, and it was one of the neat features, anyways, was it told you how many meters away you were from that location.
Right.
Right. So I was pretty far away from the Eiffel Tower when I was looking to try to check into it. Very, very, very far away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. Again, still looking for that aha moment, but the one thing I love about what these guys have done. Message Party has done is the fact that they realized that their business model was either crowded or they didn't stand a hope. Or they wanted to differentiate a little bit more, went in a different direction. I like that, and I think that we're going to see a lot of companies doing that going forward.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of changes and movements, I think, in the next little while, right? Because either you're going to get taken out, or you're going to make a shift and move into another direction. That's what they've done. So
yeah, and and I think that there's the flip side of that, lots of competition from all of these companies that we've mentioned before, and not to mention a company like Twitter, right? Who's doing this as well. So Message Party and geoblogging. And again, in the kind of non-revolutionary, but certainly evolutionary step that we're going through here in this kind of second quarter. I don't even know if it's a second quarter issue or not of the year. If it's kind of like the calm before the storm, but StrikeAd and Ripple work together. And what I like about this is that StrikeAd didn't build it themselves; they partnered. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, and I think you just hit on something right there. So I think we're going to see a ton of that over the next few months of more and more collaborations and partnerships. It doesn't make sense to go and build everything. Just let's start bolting things on, right? Yeah. And so StrikeAd and Ripple are both UK-based companies, and they kind of come out of that environment of serving the media buying agency type crowd in terms of delivering mobile ads. Okay, and so this is a mobile app platform piece, but positioned in such a way that it kind of caters to the mobile ad buyer. Okay, that's out there. So they've teamed up. And effectively, StrikeAd's been in that business of kind of providing that type of platform for a while. And what Ripple's bringing to the table is the location-based delivery of maps, coupons, et cetera. All the stuff we've talked about for a while, and they're kind of marrying up those two platforms together.
Yeah, so this is really about opt-in, tailored, optimized ad push to the mobile user ultimately. Right. And it's nothing new.
nothing new, nothing complicated. It's just a nice little marriage of services.
Yeah, and that's like, I love the term that you used, which is bolt on. After our conversations over the last number of weeks with some of the big players in the location space, the actual location data space, you realize that all the new entrants are are kind of in kindergarten compared to those guys who are in graduate school. If I think that if companies like Foursquare, Goala had partnered with these guys early on, if there was ever a possibility to do that, you would have seen a drastically different thing instead of them building up their own database and having all of this, multiple databases for each location.
Yeah, no question.
So good on StrikeAd for realizing that what they're good at and partnering with a company that could provide that. And I like that, especially in the UK. We don't get a lot of news except for like O2 and Marks and Spencer and a bunch of some of the stories we've covered that you seem to bring out, which is good.
Rumble.
Yes.
Don't forget about Rumble.
Can't forget about Rumble.
Yeah.
So here's a good one. I think we covered this in a very early episode, which was Google Hotpot. Tough name to say. Yes. Tougher thing to understand, even with all of the other platforms and services that Google runs. And something that I think we actually did mention that, hey, doesn't this compete with their existing services called Places, right? And it complemented it, but it kind of, so Google now has killed Hotpot or has rolled it into Places.
Yeah, so I think it's an interesting interesting announcement by them, because it's an issue that comes up over and over again. Like I'm out talking all the time at conferences and presenting, all over the place. And, when you hold up, for the average consumer out there, or even the average business person that's just trying to get, a base understanding what this location-based marketing world is, and you say, well, Foursquare is out there, they're the leader, they got 9 million users, and over here we've got Facebook Places, and then everybody says, well, what about Google, right?
Yep.
And the problem with that question is that when I get asked that question, it's a difficult question to answer, because you have so many different services from Google, and they're all disconnected. You've got Maps, and you've got Latitude, and you've got Hotpot, and you've got NFC stuff going on, and you got so many different things being tested or trialed, so to speak. And so finally, part of the answer to that question comes about now this week with Hotpot is being graduated, is the term they actually used, to be combined with Google Places.
And Google Places has a long history. It's been around for quite some time in the web space, and
right.
And Hotpot was just kind of like it was like a
Hotpot launched in November. Yeah,
it was a very short. And we talked about this a little bit before, but do you think that this has anything to do with Larry Page taking over as CEO? And this is one of those changes, because he's changed his entire executive team. He's elevated Andy Rubin. I mean, he's got more direct reports. He seems to be actioning on some stuff that where there was a vagary before. Now there's absolutely no. It's very crystal clear. And do you think that this might be a part of that?
I mean, that's a hard thing to answer. I mean, I think it's unless you're in there, you don't really know. But I think it sort of makes some sense to me that there's a bit of a notion that we can only experiment so much. You can have multiple approaches, right? You can say, as a business generally, whether it's Google or any other business, you can say, look, we've got 10 products we're testing in the marketplace, and maybe two out of 10 will hit, okay, and be successful. Or you can say, we're focusing on these 3 things, and we're going to put all of our money and all of our efforts and all of our marketing dollars behind that, and we're going to make these 3 things successful. And I think maybe there's a bit of a notion that we got to start to think a little bit more like that from in Google's kind of atmosphere of how they work, and a little less kind of public testing, and a little bit more let's just start combining some stuff out there and kind of roll it out and really get some real adoption on this stuff.
Yeah, instead of fracturing the market, right? Focus on something. It almost sounded like when they were rolling out some of these services that left hand didn't know what right hand was doing, right? So it was just
just for the users out there who are not familiar with Hotpot, effectively what Hotpot is a location recommendation engine, very similar to the way Yelp works. and so people are basically making recommendations on places. And then what they've announced here is they've combined that with Google Places, which is the check-in platform for checking into those places. And so as you check in, now you have all these recommendations coming from the Hotpot platform. And I think, an update from November to now, just for those who are tracking it, I think, there's over 50 million places in Google Places.
Yes.
So the database is quite large. It operates in 47 languages, so it's quite diverse in terms of its availability to a wide group. And most interesting of all to me, the stat that I saw this week is that there's already over 1 million, over 1 million recommendations per month going into Hotpot, versus an average of about 600,000 going into Yelp every month.
Yeah.
So the growth is certainly there.
Yeah.
From that perspective.
So when do we see the integration with Places and Latitude?
Don't know. I think that's just a matter of time now. I think it's still too fractured, and I think it has to come together. Now, the other interesting thing is that they're continuing to expand the footprint for testing of the these integrated places, NFC tests, and other things going on. So we started with just testing in Portland. They expanded that to Austin during South by Southwest, and I understood this week too they're moving that to or adding to that Madison, Wisconsin, Charlotte, North Carolina, and Las Vegas as well. So.
I mean, it's only a matter of time. I think that people can't roll out NFC-enabled phones fast enough, which is a challenge. I mean, right now, the only one still out there is the Nexus S, and I think that we're getting more and more announcements coming through, but we haven't seen any more adoption or integration of NFC chips.
Right.
Which will happen. But Google last week, or the last 7 days, actually came out with an announcement saying basically that they're ditching support for QR codes, or 2D codes is ultimately what it is, to focus exclusively on NFC as their standard of choice. This was an odd announcement, really, because I don't think that you need Google to support QR codes or 2D codes, because it's ultimately software enabled anyways. But this is one of those movements that they're trying to bring it in and focus on the thing that they think is going to win next, not the thing that's winning now.
Yeah, and I think it's it's not just chat that they're out there saying, hey, we're doing this. They're actually doing it. So you can no longer create a printable QR from within the Google environment. You used to be able to do that and attach it to a Google place. You can't do that from within Google anymore. So they've withdrawn all of that. So they're actually doing what they're saying they're doing, which is dropping it altogether and going after NFC. And so this announcement comes in conjunction with them saying that they've officially joined the NFC Forum, which is the global kind of body that's pushing for standards in this industry. So it is a big announcement, I think, to say that Google's part of that, because I think it does give it a certain amount of validity. The NFC Forum, that is.
Yeah. And NFC is certainly a service, and people talk about NFC exclusively as a payment mechanism, but it isn't. Near-field communications might enable payment, or you put a payment layer on top of that, but it really is a simpler way of interacting with a specific location or a document or anything that's tagged with an NFC chip. And it doesn't have to be payment. It can be exchange of information. It can be exchange of anything. So think about it as, and it's not like you have to hold up your phone and take a picture of a moving truck or a bus or something to that extent, and then have it send you to a URL. This is quite literally just brushing next to it with an NFC-enabled device. So NFC
and I think too, in addition to the Google announcement this week around joining the NFC Forum, there was a few other announcements that are all indicating that NFC is really heating up and is going to be a big thing this year. More towards third and fourth quarter. But what I'm referring to is, again, going back across the pond to the UK. There was announcements this week from MasterCard announcing that they've partnered with Orange, and Visa's partnered with O2, and they're going to be running trials with a number of retailers in the UK market over the next few months. And the expected kind of take up on that, they wouldn't, from some of the numbers I saw, they wouldn't be surprised if there was 40,000 businesses by the end of the year in the UK that are NFC capable from a payments perspective.
It's great. Still a drop in the bucket, but
yeah, but still, it's a movement forward, right? So, and again, it just kind of ties back to Google saying, "Hey, we're going after this." You know, obviously the credit card companies are saying we want to be moving this thing forward, and we're going to start testing right now.
And one of the big announcements was Amazon or the rumors, I guess, was eyeing NFC as a payment mechanism, weren't they?
Yeah, Amazon's definitely come out and said they're moving forward with this. Apple's come out and said that NFC is going to be a big part of what they're doing, hopefully in the iPhone 5 later this year.
Yeah.
And certainly Microsoft is been a big supporter as well. So,
and getting all those guys on board,
I think it's all moving in that direction.
Yeah.
It's just a question now of how fast can it get going.
Yeah, and I think that's this market, as you said. I mean, I'm not as optimistic saying that this is going to have an impact in third and fourth quarter of this year. I think that the momentum will roll third and fourth quarter. 2012 is definitely going to be the time where we start to see a lot of these things roll out, because we've talked about NFC before on this show, and one of the things that you need in order to do this is a device that supports it and a location that supports it. And
I completely agree with that, Rob, and I think that's why I said to somebody else earlier this week. I said that to some extent, I think in North America, anyways, we're going to see a bit of a leapfrog over QR in terms of mass adoption and a movement next year towards NFC, because unlike some other markets, like if you take, for example, Asia, and you go to Tokyo or anywhere today in Japan, you'll see QR codes all over the place, right? I mean, it's been there for years now. You've got every building on the side of a building is a giant QR code. Yeah. That's how advertising works there, and we have nothing like that in North America anywhere. There's the odd smattering here and there, and there's some packaged goods companies that are looking to add it to their packaging and so on for QR, that is. But in general, I don't think we're going to see mass adoption of QR in the North American market. I think you're going to see it packaging and print, obviously, to some extent, because you still, you can't have a NFC antenna, in a newspaper very easily. Yeah. But I do think in general in the retail environment, I think we're going to see that leapfrog here to NFC.
I agree.
We're not going to have the adoption of QR like we had in the Asian market.
No, and I'm okay with that, because I'm not a big fan of seeing all these black and white QR codes on the sides of buildings. It really does bring down advertising and marketing to its lowest common color base, I suppose, or non-color base. And if I could sum up like kind of what QR codes would mean to me, it's like QR codes could be the next stamp, the evolution of the stamp, and the NFC can be the evolution of information transferring. I think that's one of the things.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So NFC heating up, Google Hotpot integrated with Places. This is the beginning. I think that we're now starting to this. So if you think about it, StrikeAd partnering with Ripple, which is going out to find somebody else who can do this instead of building it internally. Message Party changing their business model because it wasn't working beforehand, and AirRun, really a B2B. Simple B2B play, but it's just going to show you that location and business can actually work together in a different way other than couponing, which is what we've seen together.
And again, I'm still waiting for LinkedIn to step up and do something there, like in that model of what AirRun's doing.
Oh yeah, I mean they should be primed for that. Instead of doing Google Answers and Google Groups, they should be looking at ways to facilitate business, because that's what people are on LinkedIn. Yeah. And
they want to make money. I mean, here's a transaction service right here.
And exactly. If the rumors are really, not the rumors, but people always looked at LinkedIn as the last social network, although 100 million users, I was number 4,800 who signed up, which is pretty impressive. I never got an email from the CEO, and I'm kind of angry about that. But if people look at this, I'm the only one, I think. But if people look at this as LinkedIn as a way to generate or to find work, then if that's what it's about, then facilitate this. Don't do a job seeker like they've done on LinkedIn right now, but try to figure out a way to leverage mobile as to do this, to help me find a job. Not me personally, but help you find a job. Not you personally, but somebody. You know what I mean? Right. Like find their strengths and leverage it. Groups and answers, let Quora and some other company deal with all that stuff, because they're now full of spam. So, Great. I mean, I think we're starting to see that. We're going to start to see this roll through the summer and really try to drive some value out of this marketplace. That's it for the news. Now, your product of the week.
There's no angle here. I just thought it was interesting. It was different, a little bit different.
It is Flirtomatic. Take it away, Asif, buddy. I've never used it.
So this is an iPhone app. It's part of, this is a company that's been around for a little while. They describe themselves as a mobile flirting network with, get this, 4 million users.
Come on.
Already, yep. So they've outcompeted eHarmony and Match.com in some respects. These guys are well funded. They raised $9 million bucks in VC funding.
What?
And effectively what they've said, with their tool is they've got a location feature that allows members to search for and connect with people who've been or who will be in the same location at another time. Right, so there's a time element here, which is kind of that's what I liked about it. It was a little bit different.
Yeah. Right.
It's not just I'm here, you're here. Let's flirt. Let's hook up. It's hey, I'm going to be here. You might be there, or you've been here.
So it builds a little bit of a profile. So if I'm at a specific type of club, or at a bar often, or a restaurant often, right, you might have somebody of similar. I'm just making this up because I think that this is like lazy dating, but or lazy flirting. There's also something to say about I don't know.
First of all, it's two old guys talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Two old married guys with kids.
Far past that, right? So yeah.
Yeah, but there's something to be said about serendipity, right? That you're standing next to somebody and the conversation starts to go, and then something leads. But it just seems like I don't even know what to say. Flirtomatic.com, Flirtomatic, exactly like it sounds. Flirtomatic.com. I haven't used it, obviously. I don't know. Asif looks like he hasn't used it either. We'll see.
No.
But $9 million in venture, in investment, and 4 million users. So there has to be something there. Obviously, dating is a big business.
Check it out. If you're in the market, flirt away.
And let us know. You know what we'd love to see? People who start at Flirtomatic and get married. That's what we'd like to see on the show. Bring it. Anybody who...
Bring it on. We'll bring people together and bring them on as guests.
Exactly. Flirtomatic. It's like speed dating for the mobile generation.
You got it.
Now, your resource. I love this. Really,
first one you've loved in a while.
What's that?
First one you've loved in a while.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've loved the other ones, but we've had to pay for the other ones in order to be able to see it.
I'm kidding.
But this one, I certainly I love O'Reilly, and because it evokes some thought, right? They've done a lot of work around it, and this, your resource of the week is really about that. You have to think about this read when you go through it. So what are we talking about? Convergence of biometrics, location, and surveillance. From O'Reilly.
This is written by a guy named Bruce Stewart, and Rob will put up the link to this. But a really interesting blog, again, talking about the convergence of biometric, location, and surveillance. And really what they're getting at is that trying to get people to think about, what is surveillance, what is biometrics. It's not just iris scans and face recognition and things like that. And then how does location fit into that? And our tools like Foursquare and Gowalla and all these services that we talk about every week, are they really, a form of surveillance? Are they really a form of personal security? And what are the pros and cons of these things? And so that's what this post discusses. And what I liked about it, as you pointed out, Rob, it just gets people thinking. Yeah. It just moves us out of what we think about every day. Those of us that live and breathe location-based services and location-based marketing, and about coupons and deals and, ad platforms and all that stuff. And it just struck me. I read this thing and it just made me pause for a minute and think about a different way to think about location. And it's not that we don't think about, the security side of things and privacy and those issues. It's just I haven't been thinking about it anyways as a surveillance discussion. And how biometrics fits into that, and so it just gets people thinking, and that's really all I want to say about it. I think it's a good read, and people should take a look at it.
Yeah, I think so as well. And anything that comes from O'Reilly, deep thought, I'll also include a link about from Fast Company, which is an article entitled "Smartphones Tracking Geodata May Be as Personal as Your DNA," and it's an interesting take along the same thing as this. Is that your DNA is not the only thing that will be. The argument of the article is that your DNA is not the only thing that will be able to identify who you are through anonymous activity. And
right.
Certainly location and checking in and all of the things that we take for granted today are one thing, but the patterns and that we're displaying right now, where you check into certain locations or you buy certain products on your phone, or you're with certain people all the time, it actually combines with your location and creates a footprint or DNA or a fingerprint ultimately of who you are. So even anonymous data can be linked to a real person. And we've started to see this a lot of times, especially with all these lawsuits that are going on right now. Pandora is under the gun for sharing information with their advertisers, unbeknownst to the end user, and these are all things that we should be taking into consideration when we get into this business or start using these services.
Yeah, and just one last thought while we're on the subject of O'Reilly is in another week or so is the Wear 2.0 conference.
Yeah.
April 19th to the 21st in Santa Clara. It's going to be a fantastic conference. The who's who of this location world that we talk about all the time will be there, from the Geotocos to the Googles to the Foursquares and everybody in between. Closely, a lot of these new startups guys are going to be there. So, just encourage people to come out if you're interested at all in this space and you can get out there. Do it, and LBMA is certainly going to be there, and we're a media partner. And if you need a discount code, hit the website, and we'll hook you up as well. So
that's great, and that's in a couple of weeks in Santa Clara. It's
April 19th to the 21st.
You really never need an excuse to go down to California.
No,
certainly not if you're Canadian. No.
Well,
that's it. Episode 20. Now we should make a note that next week is Easter weekend. No,
2 weeks.
2 weekends. So we're going to have a special broadcast, a little bit delayed on Easter weekend as we fatten up on ham. Most of us anyways. And but next week it's business as usual. We'll have a post up for late Sunday night or Monday morning. Episode number 21. 22 will be affected though by the long weekend. But we will still do this. We will still do an episode that weekend. Just might be a little
we won't leave you hanging.
We will not. Yeah, you'll get all your information that you need on the Monday. Even if it's a holiday for you, you'll enjoy it. But that's episode number 22.
Especially because that episode will be the wrap up from Wear 2.0 as well.
Oh yeah,
so,
it's gonna be good.
Lots going on.
All right, episode number 20 done. Asif, enjoy your week. We will see you next week for episode number 21. And for those of you who are watching or listening out there, driving in your car or sitting at your office, really, really, really appreciate the fact that you spend each and every week with us. 20 weeks down, many more to go. Thank you so much for listening. And if you've got any comments or suggestions, as always, hit up Asif, hit myself up at untether@gmail.com. We will endeavor to do what you ask of us. So please ask continuously.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone.
All right, Asif. See you next week.
Bye.